Isaac Okoro was once a respected businessman and a farmer in his village, known for his wealth and calm nature in the quiet town of Umu. He wasn't the richest man nor the most educated, but he was known for one thing: his unwavering love for his family. Isaac and his wife, Ada, were blessed with 4 beautiful children: Chika, Glory, Samto, and little Loveth. Each child had come at a different season of their marriage, and each was deeply cherished. Their home was small but warm, filled with laughter and the smell of fresh okra soup. Ada was the glue that held their world together, gentle, kind, and wise. She taught their girls to pray before sleep and how to fold their uniforms neatly. But when Loveth turned 5, an unfamiliar illness crept into their home like a shadow. Ada's sickness was sudden and unrelenting. What began as a mild fever turned into weeks of agony. Despite Isaac's desperate efforts, from herbal remedies to distant hospitals, her condition worsened. Despite trips to local hospitals and calls for prayers, Ada's health rapidly declined. One cold morning, she exhaled her last breath and died, leaving Isaac with 4 confused and heartbroken daughters. The void was unbearable, but Isaac made a quiet vow at her graveside. "I will not fail them, Ada. I will raise them right. I will give them the future we dreamed of." The loss shattered Isaac. Yet in the depths of his sorrow, he found a new kind of strength: fatherhood sharpened by sacrifice. He became both protector and provider, comforter and counselor. Raising 1 child alone is daunting. Raising 4 with no partner and limited means bordered on impossible. Yet Isaac took the challenge head on. He sometimes took jobs beneath his skill level just to put food on the table and keep the children in school. He rose before the sun and tilled the land on his farm till dusk, and returned home only to cook, clean, and help with homework. He became their father and their mother. Still, the expenses grew. School fees, uniforms, textbooks, they piled up like mountain ranges. He began skipping meals so the girls could eat more. His tools wore out, his hands cracked with fatigue. When things got tougher, meals were meager, clothes were patched, but their books were never unpaid for. Their school shoes, no matter how worn, always fit. Isaac made a decision most couldn't understand. He began to sell off his possessions. First his land, the same land he had once planned to pass on to his daughters as inheritance, then his farmlands and workshop. People in the town began to whisper. When he finally sold the house he and Ada had built, their whispers turned to open ridicule. "He has lost his mind. Selling everything to train daughters? A man without land or a house is no man at all. Those girls will marry and forget him. All this suffering for nothing." The market women gossiped. The elders shook their heads. Even his relatives turned away. But Isaac didn't budge. He moved his daughters into a crumbling 1-room apartment on the edge of town. The roof of the house leaked when it rained. The floor was a patchwork of broken cement. Yet every morning, the girls went to school dressed as neatly as possible, their books wrapped in old newspapers to keep them dry. Life in that tiny room was a lesson in humility. Dinner was often boiled yams with no palm oil, but Isaac made it a feast with laughter and stories of how Ada used to dance when the girls got good grades. He never let the bitterness of hardship taint their joy. He taught them that dignity was not in wealth, but in perseverance. Years rolled by, and then, one by one, the fruits of Isaac's sacrifice began to bloom, each one marked by silent battles and small victories. Chika, the eldest, won a scholarship to study law at a federal university. She left home with only 1 suitcase and a promise: "Papa, I will make you proud." Glory, always the curious one, taught herself coding using a borrowed phone, and later launched a tech startup that caught the attention of international investors. Somto the bookworm became a lecturer after graduating top of her class. And Loveth, the baby of the house, earned a scholarship to study medicine abroad. The town of Umu slowly began to take notice, but the true moment of reckoning came one Saturday morning under a brilliant sun. Luxury black SUVs rolled into Umu town, engines humming like royalty had arrived. The villagers rushed out, gathering, whispering, craning necks, curious and astonished. Out of the SUV stepped 4 elegant young women, their heads held high, dressed with grace and pride. And there they were, Isaac's daughters, graceful, confident, radiant, their polished bodies gleaming in the light. They were no longer girls, but women who had conquered the world with their father's sacrifice as their foundation. Each was more successful than anyone had imagined. They had not come to flaunt their success. They were on a mission. Together they built their father a magnificent new home, twice the size of the one he sold with gardens Ada would have loved. They renovated the village school, stocked the health clinic, and announced scholarship programs for other girls in the village. They held a town gathering. The villagers, once filled with scorn, now watched in silence as Chica took the microphone. Many of you called our father a fool. You mocked him when he sold everything. This man gave up everything so we could become something. You called him a fool. We call him a king and a father. You said we would leave and forget. Well, we did leave, but not to forget. We left to become the daughters he dreamed of. And now we are back to honor him. He had been mocked, misunderstood, and called a madman. But in the end, he was the man who bet everything on his daughters, and won. Isaac stood silently, tears flowing freely. For the first time in years, he smiled, not with the tired smile of a man pretending to be strong or surviving, but the full, proud smile of a father who had truly won. Isaac stood amidst the crowd. His eyes glistened with tears as his daughters wrapped their arms around him. The village erupted in applause, but he barely heard it. In that moment, he didn't feel poor or mocked or broken. Years passed after the grand homecoming of his daughters. The new house his daughters built for him became a quiet sanctuary. Its gardens bloomed with Ada's favorite flowers, hibiscus, jasmine, and ojali leaf, tended carefully by Loveth during her visits. The kitchen always smelled of fresh soup again, just like in the old days. And in the evenings, Isaac would sit on his front porch with a soft shawl over his shoulders, sipping palm wine and telling stories to neighborhood children who now called him Papa Isaac. But life didn't stop with the girl's success. In his later years, Isaac began to truly live, not just survive. His daughters ensured he had the best medical care, and it showed. His energy returned. His health, once worn down by years of toil, bounced back. His back stood straighter, his laugh fuller, his eyes brighter. They also set up a foundation in his name, the Okoro Legacy Fund, focused on educating girls in rural communities and supporting widowed fathers raising children alone. Isaac often attended scholarship ceremonies as a guest of honor, standing proudly in his signature agbada, his walking stick now more of a symbol than a necessity. On his 80th birthday, the entire town gathered again, this time not in pity or gossip, but in celebration. Under colorful canopies, amid drumming and dancing, the people of Umu honored Isaac Okoro as father of the nation. Even elders who once mocked him bowed their heads and said, "We were wrong. He was right." Isaac gave a short speech, his voice steady and rich with gratitude. Ada, I kept my promise. I gave them the future we dreamed of, and in return, they gave me life again. If you're listening, our little house became a mansion, our seeds became forests, our love lives on. He lived well into his 90s, healthy and surrounded by grandchildren who adored him, often climbing on his lap to hear how he once sold everything and gained the world. When Isaac Okoro finally passed away peacefully in his sleep, it wasn't in silence or sorrow, it was in glory. At his funeral, dignitaries came from across the country. Tributes poured in. His daughters, now global leaders in their fields, built a library and girls' college in Umu in his honor. Etched at the gate were his final words, "Sacrifice is not loss, it is love that chooses to bloom in someone else's future." And so, Isaac Okoro lived, fully, nobly, and forever remembered. Thank you for watching this powerful story. Share this story if you believe in educating the girl child. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video, and subscribe for more stories that heal, inspire, and transform. See you in my next video. Bye.